Okay, so yesterday we were learning the Minchas Chan, and we started learning about how the clothing externally will help us internally to recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, etc., etc. That's what we left off with yesterday. So let's continue over here. Hine yisoid ze shebekoach ma'aseh chitzon le'ashpil al panimius hanefesh be'es hachlafas ha'mabushin le'labushay Shabbos hadurim matzinu gam king ze b'divrei hagon HaKadosh Reb Tzadok hakon melublin zeiches halach havacha b'sefer pre tzaddik parshas of Iga sheba makbil Rabbi Tzadok is big day. Shabbos is a big day. The big day Kohen Gadol. So we're comparing Shabbos clothing to the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. Just like the clothing of the Kohen Gadol, they would bring kedusha. They would bring a certain holiness on the Kohen. So too our Shabbos clothing brings us a kedusha, brings us the holiness. So our clothing helps enable the kedusha over there as well. This is where he goes into a strimal or hats in general, special Shabbos hat. That maybe the Gemara in Shabbos Peiches says that they had two crowns values. So one corresponded to Nase, one corresponded to Nishma. They said we will do and we will listen. First they said we will do. So therefore, this is where it comes from of having a strimal or a Shabbos avelchin. It's pasha b'Yisrael and minog the lubash b'Shabbos kova hashoina b'suroso mizeh shalosh v'chol. This is where it comes from having a special Shabbos hat. This idea, this concept. The special Shabbos hat. One is Kedei Nasa, one is Kedei Nishma, the two crowns. It is on our head like a crown.
So when a person is traveling,
Yeah.
and it's hard, to pack everything,
Yeah.
So let's say I bring one hat.
Yeah.
And you want to dive in during the week with that, etc.
Yeah, you're traveling. It's different. You're traveling. It's not practical to bring two hats. We're talking about in a general case most of the time.
Person traveling, okay.
Given okay. So that's the idea of an interesting idea over there. Okay, let's wrap up this tshuva. We're just gonna get the highlights of what I thought was kedai to go through. Ulam. Okay, now we're back to the white. We're talking about white clothing. The halacha, the shalos tshuvas panim iros. The minhag Ashkenaz is not to wear completely white. Okay. Now, v'chasidim ikar nohagin lobosh big day meshi shachor. Chasidim, as we know, they wear a silk type of black garment. We call it a bekisha. So we see that it's not white, which we saw from previously. So what's the explanation over here?
Wait, what year is this? What year is this from? What year is this?
What year?
Pretty recent.
Like roughly.
Got to be the last 10, 20 years. I don't know. I only have a PDF file of just this tshuva, but if you look in the beginning of the sefer, it'll say probably 10, 20 years, nothing. Anyways, so he explains like this: Shamikubalim kosvos devreim hanizkelel his kavnu rak liachidis gulan shemailo v'lemenhagi kilos b'Yisrael, as we learned, right? Wearing completely white and everything totally white. The idea is that's for people yechidi skula. Those are for select individuals, and not for the homonam, the general crowd. What?
It's actually funny that I was saying this because I don't usually do this, but I went to find someone on Shabbos night, and there was a bunch of people going into this tish on Friday night, and the Rebbe was wearing all white.
Yeah, this is where it comes from. I mean, this is our sugya. But the Vrayim Ikar Chashash Blavishis Big Day Lovin, who behargashas gaiva the maybe they should say Yuhara, not Yukra. I think that this is a typo. Yuhara. I think that this is a typo. I'm gonna put in over there. Typo. Anyways, so the main concern is religious arrogance. Okay, and apparently there was even a thing that was announced once: Shuv ish lo yilbash b'gilava. No one should wear this white clothing on Shabbos and Yontif, and that's the story over there.
Made the announcement?
There's an announcement that was made over here. It says
Interesting.
Yotza Cruz Bibrad. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Akoponim. Then he quotes for sure. Then he quotes the Panim Iros, and he says, if you're gonna wear white clothing on Shabbos, There's no greater religious arrogance than this, and you should like excommunicate this fellow. So it's mashma that there was Yeridus Hadayros, Atzuma he Shagarma Lakachra Achichidis Guli Ruuyim, Adayin his Hodder, but big deal of him done. There's Yeridus Hadayros, we're not fitting, we shouldn't be wearing this type of clothing anymore. So at the final end of the tshuva, Hayoti Lon Makol and Israel. In summary of everything, Sheba'etzim, Yesh Inyan Gadol Lobosh Begilov Shabbos. There's the idea of wearing white clothing on Shabbos. Ukamosh Berenim Mekubalim, like the Mekubalim explain like we learned. Elashatzleinu Hashkenazim Yoitze Yerupa. For those Ashkenazim, we come from Europe, most of us, have Sikum Milolobosh Beged Elyon Shalavon. We stop wearing the outer white garment. Ukaviyam Mavor Ikar Kapedo Hu Misad Chashashu, religious arrogance. V'kolzahu ach le'inyan beged elyon. This is talking about outer garment. Ulam lebigdi kisoinus lavan she'adavar rogil etzel kol atzibur lavsho ve'ein bazeh chashash yehu rakal shudavar mekubal etzel kulam im kein vadi yishlinho kemakora rishon lahak v'lubish shavikunos lovein adavko. But if it's going to be wearing type of white tunic, which apparently was prevalent, and if that's done prevalent, so then that could be done. So the point is, I think that this is a very nice tshuva, that we didn't see someone explain this so much as in this tshuva, this idea of really why we don't wear white and what historically changed. However, if you do see some people wearing white, especially in Eretz Yisrael, like Sfas, certain places like that, it's more accepted over there. So this is where it comes from. This is why we stopped wearing white. We do wear the white shirt, but this is talking about totally white, everything, jacket, pants.
I guess these Israelis with the white shirt, no jacket, that's a mocker, I guess.
Yeah, but are they wearing white pants? Because if they're not wearing white pants, then it's right. In Israel, they don't. In America, we dress over here more with a jacket and a tie than over there.
Right, for sure.
Right, but I think even in all yeshivish places, they all wear
Jackets.
yeah, jackets and
Well,
ties.
Israelis, the
Israelis, they
Dati.
don't. Right, exactly.
They have the white shirt.
Exactly. So, but this is the idea of completely white.
What about wearing like colored suits? I mean, that's a different topic, right? In terms of
Color, we didn't see color brought
I
up.
didn't see colored.
We didn't see it brought up at all. No. The real question becomes, and we're going to see a tshuva on this, a white tablecloth, and we're going to get to that more in this tshuva. I mean, we touched upon it in the past, but anyways, okay. So let's take a look now that we're going to go through of Harvinus' tshuvas. This is going to be the last thing we're going to be doing in this simon. Then we're going to do a recap, whole simon. Minchas Chan, then we'll start Hilchos Chanukah. Right, Shloshim Yom Kol HaMachag. When's Rosh Chodesh? Anyone know?
Next week.
Next week. Okay, so it'll be perfect timing.
Next Sunday.
Okay, so let's take a look at what he has over here. All right, we're talking about when to set the Shabbos table now. Okay, so he says like this: we set the Shabbos table. You can set it in the morning, right? Some even said it last night, Thursday night. Even yesterday day. So the question is how? You're supposed to do it Erev Shabbos. So the basic answer is that, there are time limitations a lot of time, especially a lot of Jewish families. You have two working parents, so it's tough to get it done during the day. They don't have a housekeeper or whatever. So even if they do have a housekeeper, we're going to be learning about that more in Reish Mem, Mitzvah Bo Yosef B'Shluch. You should do it yourself. What does he say? Excellent point. The real problem with setting your Shabbos table too early is that there's a concern that it might get dirty again before Shabbos. Right? Think about, it doesn't really apply to all of us, but there are plenty of people who are living in small apartments, right? So they have limited space. There's no such thing as like a dining room. There's one table, right? So it's not so practical to set that table, that one table that you have, when you're going to eat, right? You're going to eat lunch. So how are you going to set it? So it has to be after. So that's one logical cheshbon. It's an excellent point over here. If someone has a separate dining room, right? I'd say most people do, right? So most people can't lock it, but let's say there was a door to that room and you could close the door and lock it so that no one could go in. Or you just tell people, Chavra, we're not going in the dining room until Shabbos. So now that's fine. You could set it whenever you want, because the idea is setting it and making sure that nothing gets tampered with, nothing gets dirty again.
Right, there are houses where the dining room is just a separate room, like nobody really, you don't frequent there that much. You have a
Right.
kitchen and you have a dining room.
But this idea of locking the table, right? You got little kids, who knows what they could do. So if you can't lock it, they might mess around with it. Right? I mean, people say, oh, you have a bracha, you have 3 girls, they all behave, whatever. I think that whole thing that boys are more wild is a shtickle, not a hoax, but depends on the parenting and the type of chinuch that's put in. But they say in general, boys are wilder. But so my kids, we set the table, no one touches it. Right? They know. But I remember once a while ago, I was at someone's house, they're like, we don't set the table before, and we only use plastic. Because if we're going to use anything else, it's just going to get thrown on the floor and it's going to get broken. So, it depends. You got to know your kid, know your situation. So that's what we're talking about over here. If it's in a separate room and you know your kids, there's no lock. Most times there's no lock. You got to know your situation and scope it out properly, right? All right. Ode Shleimer. Af im nema hata mishum tegam hachanas habayis v'hashulchan hu mechlal mitzvos v'hachinu es asher yaviu ubeinin shebeshas ma'isi yanikor shnasim l'kavod Shabbos daika lo chashash le'chlufi shnase liyom chol mikol mokom es baninu kivan sheish lanu mapos miyuchadim levanos l'Shabbos v'gam erichos kapos magilos v'sakinim im tzayir balaz miyuchadim l'Shabbos v'gam ofen hasidur hu b'seder miyuchad she'oisim rak l'Shabbos shaper nikir shu l'kavod Shabbos afi maglim. There's another point. If a fellow over here, if someone's going to now set the table very early, right? So we're saying that the idea is that it should be noticeable that it's being done l'kavod Shabbos, right? So nowadays that we have a special white tablecloth, excuse me, as we learned about and as we're going to continue to learn about, and additionally, we have special Shabbos silverware that we use. So, and plates. So in that situation, aka in that case, it's recognizable that it's being done l'kavod Shabbos, even if it's being set much earlier, right? Think about it. Let's say someone's setting it last night in the morning, it's still being recognizable because there's special items. Now, I feel like a lot of Jews do have 2 sets of plates. They have fancier and then they have a regular weekday set of plates. So therefore, that's the idea that once you're using those different plates, those different silverware, so then already it's fine because it's going to be recognizable. So this is another lenient svara, logical halachic reason as to why it would be permissible to set the table even earlier, perhaps even Thursday if you're rushed. Preferable to do it Erev Shabbos, but if a person's rushed, then it could be done even before. Okay. Vote. Yeah.
Just on a practical
Yeah.
level, I mean, just remember, I guess when a person's in Kolos in a 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartment,
Yeah.
you only have one table.
Exactly.
So, we're very spoiled here in America,
Right.
that we have 2 places to eat.
Right. I mean, that's what I alluded to before. There are plenty of people in Farakoi that live in a 1-2 bedroom, they're newly married.
Newly married, yeah.
Right. So in that case, you set it after lunch. Right.
Right.
Now, if you're newly married, so it's not as difficult because you don't have all the time consuming kid activities that need to be dealt with, right? And necessities that need to be dealt with. Right, yeah, all of the whole thing, right? It's very time consuming, so you really do have more time. The question becomes, I know someone, he just had was it his 3rd kid or his 4th kid? And he lives in a basement apartment.
Wow.
Now, I never went in the basement, but I'm assuming he doesn't have a dining room and a living room and a kitchen. I'm assuming. So therefore, in that situation, it gets tricky because person's got to be smart about it. And he's got to realize, look, there's a mitzvah of setting the Shabbat table. On the other hand, He's got to be practical.
But practically speaking, I've been in that situation, and like where it's a small place, and what you gotta do is just do it, right on Shabbos. Otherwise, the kids will mess it up because literally in the middle of everything.
I say two things to that. First of all, good morning.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Second of all, we covered that around 12 minutes ago. That idea. That's what we're in the middle of this tshuva. But that's exactly what he's talking about. Shai, I'm gonna just double highlight it for you because you came a little late over here.
Don't double highlights, fine.
Oh, no, I will. You see this over here? You see this? Is this over here?
Yeah, I see that.
Im yaktim lehachinam, there's a chashash yachzor v'yislach leik haknisa Shabbos. So this line over here says it all. He's talking about a house which is filled with kids that are going berserk. If you're going to set the table too early, there's a concern that it's going to get dirty again. Mamela, according to that, if you lock the room, there's no concern. Now, we're talking about 4 kids, basement apartment. We're talking about an apartment. There's no kitchen, there's no dining room. There's one table, says all. So in that case, you got to be smart, like what Shai is saying. You can't set that too early. You got to have lunch. You got to clean up lunch, right, Shai?
Yeah, I had that. You said it's one room. You do what you do.
So you've got to know your situation. You've got to know your situation and assess it. And based on that, come in with the svaras. But the idea is to get everything set before Shabbos. We're talking, and I wanted to add something else. This came to my head. Because we saw someone bring down, even have the wine on the table. Remember that?
Yeah, we said the wine and
We
the
saw
challah
that.
should be
So
on.
then we were dining. Oh, but let's say if you want your wine cold,
Right, we said
and
that.
you have the refrigerator, or like some fancy people have the special wine refrigerator with
yes,
special
yes,
temperatures. Is that
yeah.
the exact that? So, but that is something to put into consideration, because the opening the bottle sometimes that could take a couple of minutes. Oh, where's the wine bottle opener? Who's gonna do it? How you gonna do it? So there is an Indian. I think you could speak to a winologist about this, but opening the bottle and having the wine fresh when it comes out
Is it
of the
different
bottle.
madriga that?
I don't know if there's a different madriga. It's kind of like, I don't want to say lahavdil, but like by soda. If you're gonna open that thing and then have it a couple days later, the fizz already is not as geschmack. I don't know if that applies with wine. You have to speak to a winologist, and he'll
My
tell.
understanding is different. You're supposed to leave it open a little bit. That's
What'd
my
you say?
understanding. My understanding is supposed to leave it open a little bit.
You're supposed to leave it open, Taka?
That's my understanding, but I'm not 100% sure. That's what someone once
You're
told me.
supposed to leave it open. So according to that, we've got to get everything at the table, including the wine, and maybe there's even an Indian. Now, I'm not going to say there's an Indian ad kadei kach. I mean, this would be a super duper chumrah, if you even want to call it a chumrah, of opening the wine already before Shabbos, not to have any sort of interruption going right into the Suda, everything being set. But if you are going to open it, you have serious shilas of you have to make sure that it's covered. Mayim Megulim, Mikra Adim, we're not concerned. The Vilna Gaon is stringent. Comes up actually, if you're more interested in your Dayasim in Kuf Tez Zayin, the halachas of Mayim Megulim. It's sugis in Shas, Chulin, and Taisvus in several places about it. We don't have snakes going around anymore. You don't need to worry about your beverages getting poisoned. But the wine covers also. So look, you get the table. We're talking about it's fully loaded. It's got everything. It's got the salt. It's got the challah cutting board. It's got the wine there. It's got, if you're gonna put it in smaller cups, the kiddush cup and the smaller cup, whatever it is, everything's loaded. The question is, when are you gonna be setting the table, right? It doesn't take, I would argue, more than 6 minutes to set a full table. 6 minutes. Maybe I move a little quicker than other people. I don't think so though, right? It really. Oh, I got something in the chat over here. Shy, and now I'm in trouble. Letting the wine breathe for about 1 to 2 hours will reduce any harshness and bring out a more velvet-like texture. What does that mean, velvet? What is
No idea what it is, but the bottom line is that they're saying the same. Let it breathe for an hour or two. That's what they're saying.
Breathe
I
for an
don't know if
depend on
that's
the
the
wine. It might
accepted
depend on the wine.
minhag.
You gotta speak.
Bucky.
What? It needs oxygen.
All
All right, it needs oxygen. Look, I'm not the local winologist.
No, I'm saying, but the bottom line is for this
I get the
thing,
fake wine.
is it considered?
$6 a bottle? I'm good.
No,
with,
that's
you
the
know,
bottom line. What you're saying is it's probably considered hachana for Shabbos to open it up right before Shabbos because you give it an hour or two to breathe. That's what you're
Right.
saying.
Look, if you're getting a fancy, I'm assuming this doesn't apply to the classic Bartanura bottle. That's fake wine, right?
No, definitely not because that's
The
fizzy.
vodka
You
there,
want that to be right away, I think.
The soda pop, that if you open it up a little bit beforehand, it's not gonna make a nafkamina before.
This is gonna apply to Bartanura regular, the
I
classic.
don't think so. I think this is something that's maybe just one level above that because the bartender stuff, it's fizzy. You want that right away.
This is the real wine we're talking about. This is the real wine. So look, most Jews, they're not having real wine, right?
Okay, yeah.
Huh? Most Jews.
You have a meal.
Yeah, I'm saying most. Most Jews have kids, right? And they're not, whatever, maybe some do. I mean, I feel like if you're having real wine, number one, you're already at a certain level of wealth anyways, right? Which I would feel like most Jews aren't at that level, right? If they were doing that. And even Jews who do have the money, they're just not into it. So you have to be into it and you have to have the money, right? And then maybe not kids, right? So it's like an older, certain type of person that has a certain amount of wealth, right? So it's not
So what
most
you're saying
people.
is bottom line is you don't think this is relevant because most people are not having wine that would require that time to breathe out.
Right,
So
but if
just
they
whatever.
would, so then perhaps there could be an Indian. Now, it could be that maybe before Shabbos, they weren't in the mood for that, and now on Shabbos they're in the mood for a different type. Because a lot of people who do have that, I know I went to someone's house, he had the special wine, not a wine, maybe you could call it a cellar. I mean, it was like a small room, and he had the fridge, and there were like 80 different types of wines in it. So maybe you could taina for that type of person. Maybe he likes specific wine at a specific time. Maybe before Shabbos he's in the mood for that wine. Now he's in the mood for this one. So I don't know, yesh ladim. What I'm saying is like this: for those people who are having grape juice also, it's an opinion for sure of pre-opening the bottle to get out of the whole shiloh of opening a bottle on Shabbos. Remember that? That was a discussion that we learned. Opening a bottle is a whole discussion, like achila, whatever. For Ashkenazim, no. So based on that, to open the bottle before Shabbos would start would be a nice idea, and you know, make that cheshbon. But for a regular bottle of wine, I don't know. Yeah, so gotta make a cheshbon. Anyways, so let's continue in the tshuva. So that would be an idea over here. Okay, v'gam ofen. Where are we? We're up to v'od. V'od. Shimevoy joy meim nechnasim lehistamish bo secheder sharikhu shames ashulchan shabich chichasvar harav yo. Minyan hadim akabsim begodim biyom hey. The ma'acher she'eno loiv sho ad shabbos shaper nikar peirish l'mafresh nas the kovashamas b'lafiza afilu mamichel shulchul shishi shaper dam afilu right. If a person has clothing that they have to get dry cleaned, right? So if they're gonna get it dry cleaned and they're gonna get it back from the cleaners Tuesday, not touch it till Shabbos, so there's no difference as if he's picking it up from the dry cleaners Erev Shabbos or Tuesday because he's not touching it. Same thing with the table. So according to that, l'chayra, you could set the table from Thursday. Dining room, especially that us Shabbos Yontif we eat in the dining room. We don't eat there the rest of the week. It's recognizable that you're doing it for in honor of Shabbos. That's a nice idea of a dining room, having a separate room. Therefore, according to the actuality of many of the dwelling places of many Yidden, Sheyesh Baruch Hashem, Rachavas Yadayim Dirusim Harbe Chadarim Shedaru Shavoy Darabba Laseder Cholchet Yerbai L'Kavod Shabbos. To be Baruch Hashem, we have nice size spaces and different rooms in our houses, which require a lot of avoida, a lot of work preparing for Shabbos. Right? The bigger the house, the bigger the mortgage or down payment if you're paying all cash. The bigger your taxes, the more to clean, or the more you got to pay someone to clean. Yeah, marba nachasim marba daiga. Everyone thinks bigger and better. The more grass you have, the more you gotta cut or pay someone else to cut. Right? Adrabah. Yesh l'hishtadel. So according to that, on the contrary, you should be careful with his daughters. V'lahaktim hachanosim b'kol ma de'efsher kadesh lo yishar har b'avod de'akar v'lechisar shav shalav yichas v'shal b'deichil l'Shabbos. So therefore, you should get the hachanas done earlier preparation for Shabbos, so that you'll make sure that there's enough time until Shabbos enters, so chas v'shalom you don't come into Chil Shabbos, right? So let's say, for example, a family of 5, right? They're hustling and bustling to put bread on the table. They're busy with the kids, with it. They don't have a housekeeper. So now they got to make a cheshbon. Shabbos starts 4 o'clock. There's carpools to do the next day. There's work to do the next day. When on earth are they going to do anything? The answer is 8 o'clock at night, 8:30, 9 o'clock when the kids are sleeping. They've got 2 hours uninterrupted until they're ready to collapse out of exhaustion. That is a time when all of this can and should be done. In that case, if they know that there's not going to be time tomorrow. Me'inyan le'inyan, I would like to bring up another point. I mean, we got to finish this tshuva, but we will. I want to bring up another point, which is there's a difference between Pesach cleaning and spring cleaning. Pesach cleaning, we got Hanukkah in a month. Then Purim. What are we talking about? Pesach? I have here in advance for it. The answer is cleaning all of these things in the garage. That's spring cleaning. That's not Pesach cleaning. Don't fool yourself. It's the same thing with the house. If a person's gonna save everything to just clean Erev Shabbos, so they're missing the point over here. That stuff should be cleaned already before, not all waiting till Erev Shabbos. The person's gonna wait to do all laundry Erev Shabbos. First of all, we're gonna even learn, is it even permissible to do laundry Erev Shabbos? Really? Who says not? Well, who says yes? We're gonna learn in Siman Reish Mem Beis, because when there's so much stuff that is now just saved and all consolidated together and has to be done Erev Shabbos, and Shabbos starts already. I mean, look at this. We're going to be leaving here at 10 o'clock. Shabbos is in 6 hours, Kimat. So how much time is there really? So therefore, a person has to make that mathematical cheshbon as well and make a cheshbon on that. All right. V'l'chayr lazeh sagi, afim b'nei habayis yisadrus ashulchan la'achar hadlakas ner. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is an excellent point. Right? We learned in the Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Yates that there are 2 angels that escort us when we leave shul. If they come home and they find the table is set, the good malach is going to say it should be the will, it should be Yehirat son, that it's going to be like this the next week, right? That and then the bad malach will have to answer amen unwillingly. And if it's the opposite, if it's not set, then the bad malach gives the bracha. Yehirat son should be like this next week, and the good malach answers amen. So the question is, who said you need to set your table before Shabbos? Let the wife set the table after she lights snare and finished, and it will be set before the husband comes.
Interesting.
Yeah, nice diuk, but no, that's definitely not the pshat. Nice try. Quote, said, so that it will be set when you come home from shul. Says Rav Harfinis, Mihu Mesidur Dini Shulchan Aruch Nira Shezeh Kfar Yeh Kodem Lakas Nira. Let's talk about where is this siman in the Torah Shulchan Aruch? Siman Reish Samach Beis. What is the siman that follows the siman? The din siddur hashulchan nikva b'shulchan aruch siman reish samach beis. The din halakas neiros nikva achor b'shulchan aruch siman reish samach gimel. The next siman in the Shulchan Aruch, which by the way, Torah Shulchan Aruch, it's written in chronological order. Really, what hits us first, which obligations, is the halachas of halakas ner Shabbos reish samach gimel. So it's implied for the order of the simanim in the Torah and Shulchan Aruch that we set the table before we light the neiros on Shabbos, before they're lit. Which is so true. Many times there's a concern that there could be potential Shabbos when you set the table. I want to make a personal public announcement. This week was a big week for us. We ordered 2 white tablecloths, which are custom, which fill the whole table. Our table is probably like 10 feet or something. It fills the whole thing. We're going to learn about getting the tablecloth that makes sure it covers the whole table. Before we had a tablecloth that wasn't so nice. It wasn't even so clean. It didn't even cover the whole table. We got it. Boom. Now we got the backup also. 2 tablecloths. And you know what? What goes on our dining room table during the week? The answer is sometimes the mail gets dropped there. Their projects with the crayons, with the markers, all the chedushim over there, all the muksa items. How you gonna spread a tablecloth when it's loaded with muksa? The answer is you can't. So therefore, that's why it all has to get done before Shabbos. And before you spread the tablecloth, cover the shulchan and cover Shabbos, make sure the table's clean. What do you call that? Not the Febreze, the Windex. Use that zach if it's a glass table. Make sure it's clean. Get the tablecloth on there. Get it ready to go. So that's the Indian or the white tablecloth.
Wait, why did they have to cover the whole table? I missed that part.
We're gonna learn about that. Were you with us when we learned about the D book?
No, I think I missed that.
Oh, I'll pull it up. This story is, I mean, this is intense. This story. I'll pull it up for you. Oh, and I also wanted to make one horror on the story. Oh, quickly before I pull it up, wanted to make one horror on the story about what we learned yesterday with the guy who wore very nice clothing, and the guy said it's Baal Tashlis is getting ruined from the rain, and he brought the riot from the Kohen Gadol, from Chanin Yishal Azariah, from all those cases. They just wear it once and then to do the mitzvah. So for sure, if a person's able to get a raincoat that's able to protect his clothing, for sure he should do that. Just many times it's hard to do because of the pants and whatever. So so that was the Indian. Also, halach l'maisa, we don't obviously hold that way. That was for a specific individual who was a very wealthy individual. He was able to afford that, so he wanted to now go l'fnei Meshurus Adin beyond the letter of the law. As if it is raining, I'm saying halacha l'maisa, person could have a suit that's just designated special, just for the rain, whatever. He doesn't need to incur a financial loss because of that and do that. So I just wanted to point it out. But that was l'fnei Meshurus Adin, a high darga. Here's a story that I'm referring to. This is in the footnote over here, that he brought a story with this D book.
I wonder what they did back in the day with the Streimels in the rain.
Yeah, they had some sort of hat protector. The question is if you don't hold of the Eruv in Brooklyn, so then it gets tricky, I guess.
What kind of hat protector they had in 100?
I don't know.
150 years
It's
ago.
okay without an Eruv. Read the right simon. Why am I not finding it? Maybe I didn't highlight it. That's why. Yeah, I didn't highlight it. Right over here. He says a story from the Chozeh Mublin. Table was Megula. He says that a table that doesn't have a tablecloth that's uncovered b'Shabbos, kiseir Megula bisha. It's like a married woman who's not covering her hair. And then they quoted over here that Darchi Chaim V'Shalom was very careful with this, and the Chazon Ish told over a story about a dibuk that was brought in front of the Divrei Malkiel, the Abbezid of Lumza, and the dibuk had a tremendous amount of tumah. And when he saw that a little bit of the Shabbos table was uncovered, was exposed, he was magafif u'menashik hashulchan b'makom agula. He was hugging and kissing the table. So we're going to see more about this, but this is the idea of making sure that the whole table is covered. That's probably one of the most intense things ever, especially for those who haven't spent 13 sessions learning this topic in depth, and they're hearing it for the first time, because most people are like, tablecloth, it's a big deal here. So this is a pretty serious thing over there. You heard that, Chai?
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Intense. Anyways, Al Kopanim. So this is the idea with the order. This is the idea with the tablecloth. And that's actually the next tshuva. Im yesh kapida shebeshabbat lo yesh shulchan regula bli mapa afilu zman kat. Is there an idea? Oh, actually, that's gonna actually go into something slightly different. But there's an idea of making sure. I think he has a tshuva later. I didn't go through all of them. I just went ahead a little bit. I went through some of them. Okay, but that's where it comes from, of making sure that it's completely covered. Okay, so Minchas Chan, next week we will continue with these tshuvas and these chedushim. Everyone should have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos. Brochim to you.
Thank you.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Wait. So ideally, if we have so when's the best time? The best time to look to cover the table is after Mincha Gedolah, probably something like that, right?
Best time to cover the table is when?
When's the best time to cover the table?
Best time to cover the table?
If you have one
To set it
table,
is before Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, actual Erev Shabbos.
all right,
We saw
No.
the Shari Tshuva said maybe after Plaga Mincha, but it seems like the halacha is not that way. Anytime Erev Shabbos is fine.
Right. And all right, sounds good.
All right, have a good day.
You
Shabbos.
too. Ciao.